How we doing? Welcome into the home field advantage. I wanted to bring up a topic today about Allen Robinson. We've got a lot of people saying he's going to be like the second coming of Jesus because he went to the Rams. I mean, you get these tweets I've been seeing on a thread for PFF. They were asking what kind of touchdown count A Rob's going to end up with at the end of the season, and I'm seeing just stuff will blow your mind. It blows your mind. You get guys saying there's this one guy here. He says 12 touchdowns, 1,400 yards, and 110 receptions minimum. Whatever that guy's smoking, he better share it because that's insane. There's no way that's happening. Another one, he'll be drafted as a top 20. Should be sorry, drafted as a top 20 wide receiver this year, ahead of Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, DJ Moore, and DK Metcalf. Like, these people are going insane. He says they're currently all going ahead of him in underdogs superflex ADP, which and Robinson will fill the Robert Woods role in this offense. Okay, listen, no, he won't. He's not Robert Woods. Robert Woods and him are a little different. I mean, they're not crazy different in how they play, but they're different. And I don't think it works that way. And I'm going to go through and explain to you why that is. I went through and did a deep dive of A Rob's career, and I took out 2 of the years. I didn't count 17. Obviously, he was in one game, he had one catch, 17 yards. I'm not going to knock him on that one. That was an injury year. That will come into play later, though. And I took out the 21 season. This is the most recent one. Now, that's because he dealt with some injuries again. And Matt Nagy, it felt like he was pushing him out. It's kind of on the fence for me with that season because, like, A-Rob knows he's going into a year where he's going to be a free agent. And people are saying he didn't want to put in the effort for Nagy and the Bears, and I don't believe it. If you know you're gonna get signed to a bigger contract or some kind of contract next year, you want to put up your numbers. And granted, he got his contract. It was a pretty good one, but I just don't feel like that's the way he wanted to treat the season. But I do think Nagy and something going on in that offense definitely hurt his year. So I decided to count that one out. I left 14, his rookie year, you can kind of take with a grain of salt, but because it was his rookie year, but I left it in there. And 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 15 his sophomore year, he gets 80 catches, 1,400 yards, he averages 17.5 reception, has a not long a 90, whatever, 14 touchdowns. Okay, in that thread of that PFF tweet, I saw tons of people saying 10, 12 touchdowns, all this stuff. It was like both ends of the spectrum. There wasn't a lot in the middle. You also saw a lot of 0, 1, the number of his jersey, things like that as well. He won't get 0. The thing is he's not going to get double digits either. You've got to think about this, okay? Every year of his career, he is the guy. He's the number one guy every single season on his team. And when you look at the players he had playing with him on these teams, right? So he was starting with players like Allen Hurns, Cecil Shorts, Taylor Gabriel, Anthony Miller, and all those kind of guys. He was still getting a pretty good target share as well. 22.9, 25.1, 21.9, 24.1, 27, and 25.4% all through those years, which is huge because obviously he didn't have any major competition in targets. And the 21.9 and 18 with just Taylor Gabriel as his secondary receiver, that does feel a little low still, but I wouldn't crucify him over that. He had no competition through all these years. See, the thing is a lot of people get high on this A-Rob touchdown thing, and I don't think that it's viable. He, outside of his one season in 2015 where he got 14, he never crossed 7. The other thing that hurts him a lot is that he was injured half of his seasons. He's actually kind of injury prone. He doesn't complete a season that often, or as often as you like. It's 50% of the time. So you take him this year, you might not get a full season out of him, and he's a number 2 now. He's always been on a team where he's like the only guy to throw to. Now he's going to the Rams. They have Cooper Kupp. I mean, how you can't tell me that he's gonna go there and just show out with Cooper Kupp on the other side, even with Coop being mainly Stafford's only option and getting the defense on him. He was still he was the Triple Crown winner. He won. He went off, and you can't tell me the Rams are gonna be like, you know what, we won the Super Bowl last year. Let's change it up. Let's stop throwing it to Cooper so much and throw it to somebody else. It's not going to happen. He was top 10 in target share in every season he wasn't hurt or his rookie season. But again, he missed time in half of his seasons. And if you only count the seasons he played the whole season, he did average an 88 reception, 1170 yard, and 8 touchdown line, which isn't really all that bad. That's pretty good. That's, that's an easy wide receiver 2, range wide receiver 1. It's probably somewhere around the 10th, I would say. So then you look at his seasons for points per game. Now, I went to Player Profiler. I took a look at some of his fantasy stats, and they showed his PPG. So what I did is I took the average of the 6 seasons that I'm counting, and it came out to about 14.4 average over the 6 seasons, which really isn't that bad. That's PPR, by the way. A lot of this is on a PPR ranking. 14.4 is not too bad. Again, that's him as only the number 1 main guy. And that's out of his 6 seasons that we count. But then I thought, you know what? Let's see what Stafford been doing with his wide receiver 2s. So I looked at Stafford's rookie year. This is a tough one. I kind of don't know if I really want to count it. It was this guy, Bryant Johnson. He ended up with 94.4 PPR fantasy points and like 77th in wide receiver that year. And that is a bit of an outlier. And it was his rookie year. I don't want to use that against him. In 2011, he had Nate Burleson. He had 173 PPR points and ranked 32nd in wide receiver. Now, that's not horrible for the second wide receiver on a team, because obviously that's out of 64, and it's in the top half. But this isn't a guy that is going to be in the top 10 to 15 like all these people seem to assume. Then in 2012, he had Titus Young. Now, Titus Young got hurt. He got hurt right at midseason. So I ran his pace, 66 catches, 766 yards, and 8 touchdowns, which would have been 190 PPR points and been 27th in wide receiver. That's still kind of low. 13, there was a lot of injuries, so I didn't really count anything that year. And then 14, Golden Tate comes into the picture as the second guy behind CJ, and he had a 99, 13, 31, and 4 line, which was 259 PPR points, ends up being 11th in wide receiver. Now, that's a good year. Here's the thing. Calvin Johnson was hurt that year. Well, he got hurt that year it was only 3 games, but you got to think, well, Golden Tate definitely got some work because CJ was out those games. But I'm not saying it's impossible. It's impossible for A-Rob to get this kind of line. I just really don't think it's likely. And in fantasy, you're playing on what is most likely to happen. And that Golden Tate line isn't bad. It's only 4 touchdowns. I don't like that. You add 2 more, okay, that's more like what we want to see. Now, if Kupp goes out, I'm sure he'll go off because that's gonna be Stafford's new guy. So in 2015, Golden Tate had a 90, 8, 13, and 6 line, which was 209 PPR points, 25th. Now, that was with a fully healthy CJ all year. You're talking wide receiver 2 at the back end, top end wide receiver 3. Now, the way that people are talking about A-Rob and what they're expecting of him, that just doesn't add up. The following year, there was a combination of Anquan Boldin and Marvin Jones, so I kind of combined them. No, I didn't combine them. I actually found out they both finished with exactly the same amount of points that year and ended up with 41st in wide receiver. And I just kind of put them together because they were literally right in the same spot. Marvin Jones, 61, 11, 01, and 9 in 2017, 225 PPR points, 11th in wide receiver. Now, That was a weird year. I looked at this and I noticed in 14, Golden Tate's line got him 259 points, and that was 11th. We're talking 30 less points, and it's still 11th. I think that was a really weird year for receiver, and Marvin Jones getting 11th mainly rode on him getting those touchdowns, and that's what he is. Marvin Jones is a touchdown guy. That's what he does. Allen Robinson isn't a touchdown guy. Not that he doesn't get none, but he's not. That's not him. I don't think he's ever going to be the Marvin Jones type of player. They're not the same athlete. In 2018, Jones played 9 games, and he was on pace for a 62, 902, and 9 season, which was 206 points and would have been 23rd that year. Still, with that pace, and I mean, I think the touchdowns might have been a little high. Again, you're sitting on that almost not a wide receiver 2, the top end wide receiver 3. 19, then he had Golladay, and Golladay had a 65, 11, 90, and 11 line. But this is when Marvin Jones was like Stafford's one, and he was out for 5 games. So that boosted Golladay a lot. And this was after Tate was gone. He got 248 PPR points that year, which was 9th in wide receiver. Now, I do think Jones not being there exploded his numbers, and I looked at it, and it does seem like his games got a lot better. Were a lot better in the games Jones didn't play in. He was still having a decent year, but I would probably say you take a couple hundred yards off and a few touchdowns off, and then he's going to drop down into what, 15th probably, maybe more. I just don't think Golladay getting that 65, 11, 90, 11 line with Marvin Jones being out for 5 games, getting 9th in wide receiver that year, I don't think that's something you can reference that as that's what his wide receiver 2 was, because he was a wide receiver 1 for almost, what, a third of the year? If A-Rob stays healthy and Cooper goes down, yeah, you've got probably a league winner. And then in 2020, there was injuries. And then in 21, there was a combination of OBJ and Woods, because Woods was there, got hurt, then OBJ came in. So I took their stats and I just put them together. They were obviously behind Kupp. It was 72, 861, and 9, which is 212 PPR points, 26 in wide receiver. And if you take all of these, it averages out to about 25th rank. I don't see him as a guy I gotta go get. He's getting drafted somewhere around like the later 4th, early 5th round. I mean, Keep Trade Cut has him ranked as the 18th receiver. It's not impossible. I think his ceiling is around the 15th receiver, and his floor is like 30th. And then if he's injured, count me out, and it's a 50-50 shot he gets hurt. There's another point. I mean, you've got to think about the Rams defense now. They're never going to really have to chase points. They're not going to be behind very often, or even in high scoring games. The running game is going to be involved, I think, a lot of the time through the year. So that's going to take some of that volume down. I know Cooper Kupp's going to regress to the mean a little bit. To be honest, I don't think he'll will that much. I think they're going to just keep doing what was right. I mean, look at Megatron and Stafford. Megatron just didn't regress to the mean. If he's on the field, he was racking him up. Unless he played Darrelle Revis. Darrelle Revis had that guy's number, but that's about it. And I'm not saying A-Rob won't have games where he has a good game. Like, he's somebody that you can flip and flop around in the flex. You can probably keep him around the wide receiver 2 area, but that's as best as I think it can get for him. And where he gets drafted, I don't like it very much. So let's talk about Cooper Kupp for a second, okay? Cooper Kupp this last season with Matt Stafford, the first year that they played together, he got 191 targets first in the whole league. 31.7% target share, first in the league. 94% snap share, first in the league. 38 red zone targets, first in the league, and 33% red zone target share. 33% red zone target share. What? That's chef's kiss. That's amazing. 1 out of every 3 targets in the red zone for the Rams was Cooper Kupp. And I didn't look at it. Now that I think about it, I should have. I'm willing to bet Higbee and some of the running backs probably got more. I know Henderson, I had him in a league. I know he got some receptions in the red zone. And I know OBJ and Woods got a few, but it wasn't 33%. I don't see him falling too far away from that, and there's no way A-Rob's going to be able to bring serious value the way that people assume that he's going to, with Kupp being on the other side of the field. So now we go to the ADP of A-Rob right now. The first one I looked at, because I actually did it on accident, I forgot to switch the settings for the draft settings. But in it's just a standard redraft, I looked at where he's getting taken. He's being taken 44th, and he's being taken before DJ Moore, Ja'Marr Chase, T. Higgins. I would take every one of those above him, even in standard, every time. I think people are counting like he's going to get these touchdowns. I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to get more yards, especially than DJ Moore or Ja'Marr Chase. And Ja'Marr Chase gets tutties too. Those guys are gonna outscore him. I don't get it. T. Higgins, I mean, shoot, I'll take T. Higgins over A-Rob. I feel way better about T than I do A-Rob. Maybe not way better. That might be a stretch. But if I'm looking at both of them, I'm taking T over A-Rob every time. Then I went to half PPR. It's a little better. Those guys are back up where they should be, but still going behind A-Rob, you've got Tyler Lockett, Cortland Sutton, you've got Michael Pittman. I mean, shoot, Ayuk, Smith, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Ayuk, I know his ADP is going to change a little bit once Debo's traded, if he's traded, but let's say Debo gets traded, Ayuk is he's going to be the one. You have to take him. Devonta Smith, I feel like him going into a sophomore year, he's going to take a little bit of a jump. I take him over A-Rob. That one's close. It's closer than what the ADP is. No way he's getting taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots ahead of Devonta. I think if those two were right next to each other in ADP, I could see that. That one you could kind of argue. Amon-Ra, listen, I'm an Amon-Ra truther, so I'm a little jaded here, but give me Amon-Ra all day. Give me the water god. Is it sun god? I can't remember which one I saw people calling him. I think it might have been sun god. Give me him all day over Allen. What he showed last year, and him being the number one. These are all number ones. These are all ones on their team. Maybe not Lockett, but still, Lockett. The only thing is he's a little more volatile, but I think you're gonna get winning weeks out of him way more than you'll get him out of A-Rob. You have to take that. Cortland Sutton, there's a lot of mouths to feed, but he's definitely the alpha on the team. Like and the one. Adam Thielen, I see that's fitting, but even he's a touchdown guy, and if he's on the field all year, he's gonna blow Allen Robinson out of the water. Michael Pittman, he's gonna do so much more than A-Rob is gonna. He's not even gonna be near A-Rob. Like, he's gonna be so much further up. This is a steal actually in half PPR. And now these are also Dynasty. Forgot to mention these are Dynasty. The first one was just a standard redraft, and then I did a half PPR Dynasty startup. So I did full PPR, and A-Rob had a ADP of around 92, and he was above Hunter Renfrow, again, Cortland Sutton, Brandon Cooks, Rashad Bateman, Juju. So a lot of those guys I can see, but no. I would take Brandon Cooks over A-Rob all day. Brandon Cooks is going to have like close to the same amount of production, but he's going to have more touchdowns, and he's the one on his team. He could leave Houston in a trade. I know it's been spoke about, but tell me Brandon Cooks isn't going to have a better year than Allen Robinson. There's just no way. There's just he's the photo of consistency. All Brandon Cooks does is get 1,000+ yard seasons and like 6 touchdowns, maybe more depending on the year. Sometimes he gets a little bit more than that. It makes me mad. It makes me mad that Brandon Cooks is getting drafted after A-Rob. Now, they're roughly the same age, and I think Brandon Cooks is like slightly younger. Smash Cooks over A-Rob all the time. I mean, I think what happens is a lot of times these people get the hype train going for someone, especially going to the team that just won the Super Bowl. I get it. At Stafford, he's a good quarterback. He chucks that ball like crazy. But we've just got to calm down on the A-Rob hype and think about where he's been throughout his career. He's always been the number one, the main guy on his team, and he's had virtually no competition. And he's hurt half of every season. Man, I'm starting to. This is my first time recording a video. I'm starting to lose it a little bit. But his backups, the wide receiver twos and threes, they've been, lack of a better term, nobodies. They aren't people who have had really any success in this league or gave him any competition for targets. So I just don't see where this guy's going to all of a sudden step into being a wide receiver two and just keep slash exceed what he's done before as a one. Yes, it's a better offense, but it's also a way better defense. He's not gonna need to be thrown to all the time, and when it's really got to come down to we got to get this guy the ball, it's gonna be Cup, it's gonna be Cam Akers, it's gonna be Henderson on a third down pat. Like I don't see what people are going to expect him to do. And all I'm trying to say is just pump the brakes. It's not impossible for him to do great things, but pump the brakes. Thank you for listening to me rant and go on and on about A-Rob. I really appreciate anybody who made it through the whole video. Tell me down below in the comments what you guys think, where you guys have him ranked. You can give me some stats. What do you think his line might be? Let me know what you think. If you agree, disagree, I'd love to chat with everybody. I'll read every comment. I'll talk. I'll do that all day. So thank you for watching the video. Have yourselves a good rest of the week, and stay hydrated.